Okay, welcome to episode 3 of Parental Mayhem Talk. I'm joined today by Stacey Dwyer, formerly Stacey Brown, as I have said for about 5 times today. We've had a few technical issues, guys. Stacey is a friend of mine from Castlebar, and we've been friends now going back to sort of 8-9 years, whatever it is. And I think when we first kind of got to know each other, we just decided these are two Mayo headers that need to come together and become double headers. Whatever you
I was
might
just so
say.
glad to meet another female Mayo because the bowler was all male Mayo.
Yes,
No,
yeah,
no disrespect to any of them because I love them
yeah,
all. But I was like,
yeah,
finally a girl.
yeah. Someone who gets it, someone who loves Mayo as much as I do. And here we are. And since all of that, Stacey decided to leave me and go back to Mayo and live in Mayo. And she's happy there now with her lovely husband Jay and her little boy Seamus. So we're here today to kind of cover a couple of subjects around parenting as usual, you know, the highs, the lows, the rest. But it's also important sometimes to maybe chat and think about kind of getting to be a parent and getting to that point of becoming a parent. And for everyone, it's certainly not a smooth plain sailing journey, with a lot of times of probably giving up and, you know, maybe not giving up and striving for more and, you know, having a seriously determined way about you. And Stacey, sadly, has been through a couple of things that we're going to touch on today, of course, and touch over kind of baby loss and pregnancy and getting to that point of being a busy parent. And we're here. This podcast a lot of the time is about busy parenting and the mayhem, but it's not just all about that. It's about getting to that point. But anyway, before we delve into it all, one of the things about myself and Stacey is when COVID kind of hit, I found Stacey to be a really good support mechanism for me for my missing home situation that I had, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things now doesn't seem like such a big deal. But I think when you're 6 foot deep into it, of kind of like, wow, this is really weird not seeing people at home and communicating over Zoom and stuff. So yeah, I had a few whingy phone calls, a few whingy texts, a few whingy voice notes with Stacey, who always kept me on the straight and narrow. But you know, for you, you'd just had a new baby when COVID hit, so there was no one around you. How did that all work out?
So I was, as much as I could sympathize and have empathy with you, I
Yeah,
was a new mom. I was
yeah.
literally, COVID hit in March. I had Seamus in May. I
Mm-hmm.
was in a bubble of my baby's here. I am
Yes.
finally a mother.
Yeah.
He's here, he's eating, he's sleeping, I'm changing him, we're playing.
Yeah.
The first 6 weeks, I was like, this is class. I'm a mother. Come on, everyone, you need to be positive. We'll get through this together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was different for everyone.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
don't get me wrong, it hit. The slump
Mm-hmm.
hit
Yeah.
when the new baby, honeymoon baby phase was over. I was like, I want to go home. I want to
Yeah.
share him. I want everyone to see him. I waited so long for this and it's finally
Yeah.
here and now I want to go home and I can't. Mom and dad were meant to come for a month
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, they
Yeah.
didn't. Jay's parents, or Jay's mom and sister could only see him from the door. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget, like it was like something like the 12th of July, Jay's mother, and he was like 8, 9 weeks old, finally got to
Yeah.
hold her grandson for the
Oh,
first time. Like crazy.
it's mad when you think about it, really. Like, it's just those simple things, I suppose, of, well, like when you have a new baby, obviously, as I said to you before, you know, people are coming and going all the time with little presents, and they're coming to the, you know, to the house, and they're staying for hours. And at some point you kind of feel like, Jesus, will everyone just go away and leave me alone? But you
Mm.
had the complete opposite of that, like
Yeah.
zero. Like, I remember going to the door. Here's a picture, actually. Going to the door,
Oh,
and there's you and
oh,
Seamus
Hollywood.
at the front, and there's us three like standing, what was it, 2 meters? We weren't 2 meters there. And the funny thing about that, for anyone seeing that picture there, is that in no way was it planned what we were all going to
No,
wear. There was no
no,
plan of that. And I just
no.
said to the girls that morning, I said, God, I haven't seen anyone now for weeks, you know, like this was like, you know, May or whatever, April. And yeah, May. And I said to them, look, come on, we'll all put on something for Mayo for the
It's
crack, and we'll
timing.
have the green and red Mayo on in the car. And we drove around, and there we are. And then you came to the door, and I was like, oh my God, she's in a Mayo top as well. And so is Seamus.
So when I found out I was pregnant with Seamus, like that would have been my fourth pregnancy, first child, fourth pregnancy. First thing I bought was a Mayo jersey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I said, I So that's it. He's getting it. So when Ashling said, I'm coming, can we do a doorstep visit? I said, of course you can. I was
Yeah.
like, gee, I'm going to put on Mayo top. He goes, what? That won't fit
Yeah.
him. It's for a 1-year-old. I said, it's going on him.
It's going
And
on
lo
it.
and behold, like you, opened the door and you had run back. And I was like, we're all in Mayo tops.
Oh,
That just sums us
stop.
up.
Yeah, oh, completely. I think it sums Mayo people up as well. One
Abroad.
track
And I think
mind.
Mayo people away from home,
Oh,
you
yeah.
just, I suppose when it was May time, they should have been in the championship, should have started.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, they should be playing such and such. I think
I
that was our
know.
they should be playing Roscommon today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
Or I think
yeah. And like all the talk then of like what games you could go to and what flights look like. Like obviously been Mayo people like been quite ambitious to always get to a final. Okay, not winning finals, but getting to finals. And we'd always be looking ahead to kind of, oh, I wouldn't go to a semi now this year. I'd save myself for a final. I might go to the quarterfinal weekend, that kind of talk. But all of that was just gone. It was just weird. Like there was it's strange times for everyone though, wasn't it? Like, but touching back on what you said there before, and for anyone listening, is that Seamus is now, what age is Seamus now exactly?
3.5, and that
Three and a
half is
half.
very important to him.
It's very important to him because he's on the way to 4. So 3.5-year-old Seamus, absolute little legend, is your only child right now, but obviously prior to Seamus was your 4th attempt at becoming, obviously I say becoming a mum, but you've been a mum since day dot. But in terms of kind of pregnancies, this was your 4th attempt. And for anyone out there listening to this kind of a thing who's been through similar, and Stacey will kindly go into a bit more detail with us, is that okay, there's not always the outcome that Stacey has. Of course there's not. It's that journey of kind of like having that, not just determination, because obviously, as I said, it doesn't always end up like it has done for you, but it's about kind of, I suppose, just focusing on your body, your health, listening to what your body's saying, and taking advice from obviously health professionals and everything else, and just doing all you can, but maybe just always making sure you're looking after yourself as well. Because I think people could probably get a bit lost in it all as well. But to come through 3 pregnancies that didn't end the way you had had hoped, takes a lot out of you, I imagine, mentally, emotionally and physically. Can you just talk us through kind of like that journeys, the part of that journey, especially that first?
So I suppose we got married like yourself and Mark in 2015, and straight away Jane knew, like straight away I wanted to start a family. And I was like, oh yeah, this time next year we'll be going home for Christmas with our newborn. This is me in my head.
Yeah, of course,
because my sisters had kids and I was like, that's what happens. You get married, you have kids.
Yeah,
Blah,
of
blah.
course.
But unfortunately that was not the case. So from 2015 to 2017, nothing was happening for us. We couldn't get pregnant, and I was off work in 2000. I don't know if you remember. You probably do. I broke my foot.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I was off work for 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I went back to work after the 5 to 6 weeks, lovely and rested.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to me, I was pregnant. And first pregnancy, and it was great. I was so excited. Started telling people straight away, because the journey to get pregnant was long. It was a long road, and I was so super excited, and I was telling people I was pregnant from
course,
once I found out, because
after 2 years of
pregnant, and
trying and stuff, the excitement
I've
of
always
it
been
all.
honest. I've always been honest about my story, the journey, because I think a lot is kept under wraps. Don't tell people until 12 weeks. It's unlucky.
Don't buy this thing of don't buy anything, because if you buy anything, that's unlucky. Like,
don't bring
come
anything
on.
into the house. Like, there was so much superstition, I suppose is the word. And I just said, no. I was like, I'm pregnant, and I'm so happy to be pregnant. And if something happens, we'll deal with that, because
telling somebody isn't
any
going to
stage of
have an
pregnancy.
impact. Exactly. Like telling your friend or your cousin isn't going to make something bad happen. That's not how it works.
So I was pregnant. I was delighted. I was thrilled. I was ecstatic. And I had started telling people, which was fine. And then I went for a scan. I think in the UK it's something like 12-week scan or 14 weeks. I think I was something like 10 or 11 weeks because they'd taken me so long to get pregnant. They wanted to check everything was fine.
Yeah.
And they told me there was no heartbeat, basically. And it's called a miscarriage, where your pregnancy sac is intact and the yolk, the pregnancy yolk, as they call it, is intact, but there's no heartbeat. And they told me that if my dates were right, they told me there should be a heartbeat at 10 weeks. So they said, you need to come back in 2 weeks because your dates might be wrong. I said, oh no, my dates aren't wrong. I'm definitely 10 weeks. They said,
Yeah, you know your own son.
You don't know when you ovulate. I said, I can tell you exactly when I ovulated.
Yeah.
He says, because we've been trying for 2 years. I know exactly the time, the minute, the second.
Yeah.
And there's like, still in all, you need to come back in 2 weeks. So I said, fine. I remember driving away with my husband going, shit. I said, no. And then I was like, I know I'm right. I know I'm 10 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
don't care what they say. But he's like, no, you've got to be positive. You need to believe that.
Yeah. So we're back. Part two. We left off, actually. We had a few technical issues. We won't shy away from that, but we got over it. Quite comedy kind of factors, really, which we'll fill you in on at the end. But anyway, here we are. So we're back, and where we left off actually was we were just talking about the fact that, you know, you were in the hospital, you know, you were at that point of the 10-week, you know, pregnancy, you were at the 10-week stage, and we were just going to pick it up from there, really, because this was the first time you were pregnant and you'd just been to the hospital and found this news out. So can you just pick it up from there for us a little bit, Stacey?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I was at the hospital. I was taken to my dates. I was 10 weeks pregnant. I was going for my first scan and there was no heartbeat. And they told me, well, if I was 10 weeks pregnant, there should be a heartbeat at this stage. So my dates must be wrong. No, my dates aren't wrong. This is, and this is, look, at ovulation can happen at any time. We need you to come back in 2 weeks. And I was like, why? And they said, because your dates are probably wrong. When you come back in 2 weeks, there'll be a heartbeat. There should be a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, God, the journey home was terrible. We went home and longest 2 weeks of my life. And to cut a very long story short, went back after the 2 weeks and waited in the waiting room. And they told us again there was no heartbeat.
Yeah.
They said, however, they said on this occasion, the pregnancy sac has grown. So my dates must be completely off. And I'm an awful lot earlier than one, because they measured it to be longer, the pregnancy sac. Even though there was no heartbeat, the yolk was there, but the pregnancy sac was larger, so it's growing. So I must be completely off my dates. I said, I'm not. I said, I know what my dates are. And they said, okay, can you come back in, I think it was 7 days at this stage? And I was like, no. I says, I'm going to Ireland at the weekend. And my brother's getting married. I'm going to Ireland. I says, I can't. And they said, right, well, you'll have to come back after your brother's wedding. So I was like, I need an answer here. And
where am I at? Like, you were left in kind of like, you know, not knowing what, you know, that, and it's your body, like, you know, not to know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So we had flights booked. I was like, God, maybe we don't fly. Maybe we'll just cancel and get the ferry. It'll be safer. And we were outside the consultant's office in the hospital, and he overheard us. And he says, or she overheard us, and she said, no, just get your flight as planned.
Okay. Yeah.
So we went, and you know, Ashley, you know yourself, family weddings in Ireland, they're not a one-day event, they're like 3 days.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I went with the biggest smile on my face, but inside I was not at all.
And none of the family, any of the family know what was happening at this stage, or where were you up to with their kind of knowledge of things?
Yeah, they knew I was.
They knew, knew
from the first hospital appointment when there was no heartbeat.
Okay, yeah, so they were aware.
Very hopeful.
Yeah. And I suppose that's what the medics kind of, not saying and like that it's there, you know, but obviously they give you some kind of, not hope, but like no kind of like, this is actually what's going to happen. You need to come back for us to be able to work that out. So you're clinging on to that, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah. So my brother got married, we'll say, on the Saturday, and day 2 of the wedding was there. He actually got married. His reception was the same place as you, and we had day 2 in Brakeley House as well.
Yeah.
And day 2, I started to miscarry in the hotel. And I just remember going out to my sister, because I was staying with my sister at the time. I have to go.
Yeah.
She said, what's up? And I just went, I wasn't drinking. And I said, Jay, we have to go.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? And I was kind of like, because we're in company. I was like, we have to go, you know.
Yeah, I have to go. Yeah, yeah.
It's not working because they don't understand.
Yeah, like spell it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we ended up going to the hospital in Castlebar, and they said that I am starting to miscarry. However, everything is very much intact.
Okay. Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, so he was like, this is the beginning. But he read I had my folder over with me from the hospital in Manchester. They could read everything. And he says, this is probably the start of it. And I said, oh, right, okay. And he says, you can go home now. And it'll probably just happen naturally. And I said, whoa. That's what you mean. And I said, can you not give me something? He says, no, under Irish abortion laws, you can't. You just have to let it happen naturally. I said, I can't. This is going on now.
Yeah. And was it at this time that the that person that you spoke to, that medic, could you tell that actually he thought, no, I want to help you here, but I can't?
So the consultant that came down to me was amazing. He had so much empathy and sympathy for me. He could see what I was going through.
Yeah.
He tried as much as he could in what he could to help me along. Okay. But it just wouldn't come away. It just wouldn't leave my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to let it happen naturally. So we left the hospital. That evening we ended up going to Bar One family meal. And it was just like, when I think of it now, it's so surreal. Like, how many hours in the hospital, and then you go down going, hi.
Yeah, hi, I'm back.
And to anyone, it was just how it was. If I didn't go, I feel I was letting my brother and my sister-in-law down and my family down. So I felt I wanted to go, but it was tough. It was a tough few days.
Oh, that must have been so tough on you. Like, obviously the physical side, but the emotional side of being around family who are celebrating such a big occasion. And obviously it's a big part of your life. He's your only brother. You're really close. And, you know, you want to immerse yourself in all that fun, but probably had a sense of, sounds strange to say, but like guilt to be smiling, or not guilt to be smiling, but you couldn't naturally smile and be part of it. And that must have just had such a strain on you going back then to England.
It was tough. So the next few days, we had 7 days left in Ireland. So didn't do much. And then the day we were driving back, in the hired car, I had to pull over the car in Bellabari. Jay's like, what's wrong? I said, you're going to have to drive. He's like, what's wrong? I said, I felt like I was having contractions.
I
can say that now because
you know that feeling. Yeah.
But Jesus, and Jay was like, oh shit, do you want to turn around? Do you want to go back to the hospital? I said, no, there's nothing they can do for me.
There's nothing, I
just need to get this flight out of the way. And, you know.
So and it's usually such a happy place, being in the airport, isn't it? Like, it's such a big part of life, going back and over, and landing, departing, you're usually obviously crying for various reasons, but this, like, it's on a whole new level.
I just didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, have to just get me back to England, get me back to England. Landed, went straight to the hospital, and they booked me in for a D&C. Well, firstly, they said, do you want medical management or do you want surgical? And I said, oh, I have no idea. So we had 2 rounds of medical management, nothing would work. And then I was booked in for a D&C. So I had a D&C, and that was final. Do you know, that was it. Like, it was kind of just done, over. And
was that, like, obviously, sorry, but you know, like, when you think of a D&C and you think of that kind of trauma and that everything that you've been through, you know, is there anything that could ever prepare you for that kind of an event? Like, is it just horrendously
I think,
Tough.
Ashley, because it was going on for so long, and deep down I knew
Yes.
that this
Yeah.
pregnancy wasn't viable,
Yeah.
really, because I knew my dates were right 100%.
Yeah.
And they have, I suppose, their routines that they have to do in the hospital and procedures, and they have length of time they have to wait.
Yeah.
I knew deep down that it would
Yeah.
never be viable. So I was like, I want it to be over with now, because it's going on for
it's
far too long.
different.
And it was impacting my life, it was impacting my work.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I went back to work soon after, and work was never the same. As
Mm.
in, it's really hard. I was just like, I was off that summer with a broken leg, broken foot.
Yeah.
Then I was off with this. And I suppose that kind of impacted my work and my working relationship in that store, I suppose, with my peers, with the people I work with.
Yeah.
And, you know, people that don't have kids or don't want kids couldn't understand how it has affected me so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was hard. So an opportunity then came up in Tesco Mobile, where in Stratford, which I moved then pretty soon afterwards. And I fell pregnant again the following February.
Yeah.
And straight away, again, I was like, okay, got on to the midwife, who, by the way, was absolutely amazing in Stratford in the medical centre. She was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
She was like, right, we're going to get you an early scan this time.
Because, of course, she will have known all of your fears and your anxiety around everything, and had that extra layer of support. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was amazing. She goes, well, I'm going to book you in for an early scan at the early pregnancy unit. And I had this thing against Withenshaw Hospital, because I was there for the first one. I said, can I just not go back to Withenshaw?
Yeah.
She said, why? And I said, I've just had bad memories from that place.
Yeah.
She
You
said,
needed
no,
something new.
Yeah. She goes, no, it doesn't make any difference. I said, I know, it's all psychological in my head. So fast forward to my date, 7 weeks pregnant, had an early scan at 7 weeks, where you should be able to detect a heartbeat. And same thing again, another miscarriage, where there was no heartbeat. Now, because I was 7 weeks, they did tell me, your dates are 7 weeks. It could be too early. We need you to come back in 2 weeks. So I said, Rand, okay, same rigmarole. Came back in 2 weeks. And again, there was no heartbeat.
Okay. And Stacey, what's the kind of, if you, I know it's hard to kind of, well, it's not hard to think back because it just sits with you every day, but if you were to say kind of like how that was different to the first time in how you felt and how you managed it. I mean, obviously you'd have had the experience of your first loss, which is incredibly tough. Did it, I don't want to say prepare you, but how did you feel when you heard those words coming again? Did you just think, what is going against me here?
Yeah, no, it wasn't easier for sure, because I thought I've had my miscarriage now.
Yeah, so the expectancy was higher. Okay. Yeah.
It's higher. I said, this is my turn, and you know, it's good. I was like, what? Again? And she was like, just come back in 2 weeks. So fast forward, came back 2 weeks, and she was like, unfortunately, yeah, it's the same thing again. And I was just like, what the hell? I was like, what is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? Why? And blah, blah, blah. And I was blaming myself. And my husband was so supportive, but he just didn't know what to say. Like,
of course,
that it's just happening to you, but it's not, it's them as well. And just because you're carrying doesn't mean that they're hurting just as much.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it was tough. And again, they were like, this was February, it was into March now, I suppose, at this stage. And I said, look, we're going away at the beginning of April. I says, I can't wait another 2 weeks. You're going to have to either give me medically or surgically. And she goes, oh, we'd like to do medically. Straight away, what are your thoughts? I said, well, to be honest, because the medically didn't happen the last time, I would rather surgically.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, that goes against our protocol. And at this stage, I said, I don't actually give a shit what your protocol is.
Jesus Christ, been up against enough of that protocol.
In a hospital bed, waiting for this. I said, put my foot down, and
fair play, has to be done.
And went home and got on with it, just trawled through. And I was like, that's it. Then I visited a doctor, a private doctor, told him about my history. And he basically asked me to come back to him when I've lost 5 stone. And I was like, what? And actually, you know, I was overweight. I wasn't looking after myself. And he says, because your age, all these things are going to go against you.
Okay. So he was saying kind of like, in order to not increase your chances, but to make things just that bit more kind of like give you a bigger opportunity to carry, etc. These are the factors that we need to look at. And I imagine that the weight one probably just felt like oh my God, like what?
Because I was starting to blame myself then. This is all my fault.
Yeah.
Weight. I haven't had a baby, or I haven't had a successful pregnancy because of my weight. This is all my fault.
Yeah.
But then when I spoke to the midwife, she's like, Stacey, the gynecologist should never have said that to you.
Yeah.
I know I'm a lot bigger ladies than you.
Gosh, yeah, of course.
You know, this is not the case, and he should not have said that, and wanted his name, wanted to report him, was like, no.
Yeah.
But it did light a spark in me, Ashling, so I joined more.
Yeah.
In that, it was when I came back from New York.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at pictures and I just went, oh my God, he's right. I need to lose weight. So I did. I started my Slim World journey.
Yeah.
That May 2018. I lost 5 stone.
Yes, you did. My God, you did. You did so. You just were so determined. You stuck to it so well.
It took me 3 years to lose the 5 stone.
Yeah.
But that October, I suppose, I got pregnant again for the 3rd time. And I had lost something like 3 stone then. And I was like, oh my God, this is it now. I've lost 3 stone. I'm in a better place.
Yeah.
You know, so I went back to the midwife. Hi, Caroline, I'm here again. And she was so happy to see me. And she was like, amazing, fantastic. So we did my first booking in appointment with her. I was way more positive, I suppose, because
you'd made a big change, I suppose, as well. Yeah. And you just felt like that's going to help, that's going to impact it.
So went for the early, didn't even make it for an early scan, actually. I started miscarrying naturally. And I remember saying to Jade, there's something wrong. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm bleeding. And we had to go straight in to the early miscarriage unit in Wythenshawe. And they scanned me, and I had passed everything.
Okay.
So that was 2 miscarriages and 1 natural miscarriage.
Natural, yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is going on? I really don't know. And I was down, and I was upset, and I was this, and I was that. But like, again, the 3rd one wasn't any easier.
Yeah.
Like, no, because they were getting harder, not easier. I thought, because every time I was like, oh, I'm giving another chance. I've made changes.
Yeah.
And
did you feel like, you know, that sounds a bit deep to kind of say, but did you feel like there was just something telling you not to do this, like that there was just something against you becoming a parent? Because I imagine that when you have that much going against you, God, it must be so tough to pick yourself back up and up, and for Jay as well.
Yeah, there was never a point where I wasn't going to say, I'm not trying again.
Yeah.
I'd be very resilient, and I'd be very much, even in my work. Like, say your best leadership skill, Stacey, is
Stacey, you're from Mayo. Of course you're resilient.
You know, I keep going. I know what it's like to be Mayo supporter.
How many? 11 All-Irelands, whatever it is. Of course you're going to keep going.
Yeah. And they were like, how would you keep doing it? Keep doing it. I was like, because I want it. I want a kid.
Yeah, you want it. You really do. Yeah.
So that was February. I'm trying to think my dates. We'll say April 2018. And I didn't get pregnant again until 2019.
Yeah.
But they referred me to the recurring Caroline, my midwife, again in Lockstock Medical Centre, referred me to the recurring miscarriage clinic because of my age, and I had 3 consecutive miscarriages.
Okay.
I got referred, and that was in early 2019.
Yeah.
And they take all your bloods.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was 16 different bloods. And I got called back 10 days later, and they were like, right, your thyroid is fine, your this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. The only thing that we can see that you're lacking in is vitamin D.
Right.
We won't put you on a high strength 2-month supply of vitamin D. And we're going to, and then come back once that's done, and we'll see where your levels are.
Okay.
Well, the grand. I had a lot planned that summer, 2019.
Yeah.
We had my mum turned 70, so we were going on a family holiday to Spain. So, and we were having a family holiday with Jay's family as well. So it kind of suited the way things were. You know, there was a lot around me getting pregnant. There was a lot around me having baby showers. There was a lot around me, and it was hard. It was tough. It was, you just put your big girl pants on and you just smile, no matter how much you were hurting inside. And why is it me? Why am I pregnant? It's how it was. So we came back from Seville in the July, August time, and they said, right, your vitamin D levels are well up. We want you to start trying. And we want you also not to eat any dairy or lactose.
Yeah.
Because you have a slight intolerance. So I said,
right.
Okay. Did it. That's a month. In the meantime, Mayo GAA was huge that summer.
Yeah.
As you know. And we went to Mayo played Dublin. That was
it. Yeah.
Mayo played Dublin in the semi-final, and they played Meath first, actually. So we did a day trip over, and then it was Dublin. They wouldn't give me the time off work to go to the Mayo Dublin game, and I was fuming because yourself, you don't miss big games like that.
No.
And my husband went and actually met your uncles on the boat.
Yeah. Jay in his Mayo jersey representing Stacey.
Yeah. And I went to the Bowling Green after work that day to watch the Mayo game on my own. Ended up absolutely drinking
Balubas.
Anyway, 3 days later, I find out I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So went back to the recurring miscarriage clinic because they said, if you get pregnant, you need. Oh no, they actually told me I was pregnant. That was it.
Yeah.
So I had an appointment back with them. I don't know how many weeks later, and they said, okay, we're going to do a pregnancy test on you. And I was like, I'm not due until Monday. I said, yeah, no, it's fine. So they told me there, and then I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, you're pregnant. And they put me on a steroid and progesterone.
Yeah.
Straight away, which I was on for the first 12 weeks of my pregnancy.
And what was the idea of that? Like, I'm not too familiar with.
Steroid is to fight, is to keep your body fighting.
Okay.
And progesterone is to help. So some people would be low in progesterone and they find it hard not to carry.
Right. Okay.
So
with you.
So, and I never referred to the vitamin D either. Vitamin D is very good for growth, and because my body was depleted in it, they think that might have been the reason.
Okay.
So I started taking the progesterone and the steroids, and at 7 weeks, and they said, we're going to get you in for another scan.
Yeah.
So how is Friday the 13th of September for you?
Friday the 13th. Oh my good God.
I said, no.
No good to me that.
And she said, why? I said, because it's Friday the 13th. She goes, oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just said it. Yeah.
And she goes, no, you are. So I was like, shit, but it's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And Jay was like, Stacey, don't be superstitious. And I went, I know, but it's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So anyways, Friday the 13th came. We did the scan. And she's like, oh, I'm going to have to ask you to go and empty your bladder because I cannot find anything.
Oh, God. Almighty.
Okay. So I knew it. So I cried. I was emptying my bladder, crying. Back to square one. So I lie down on the bed again, and she was there. And I couldn't even bring myself to look at the screen at this stage.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is it. And she goes, there you go. There's your heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, yeah, there's your heartbeat. I said, are you sure? She goes, yeah, there you go.
And there he was, the little redhead.
She gets there as he is now. But yeah. And that was it. So they were monitoring me every month then because of my past.
Yeah.
And every month I was being scanned. But in between the 4 weeks, I was going for a private scan myself every 2 weeks.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
I was like obsessed.
Yeah.
I went to every scan place between Manchester Warrington, everywhere, because I was like, these people think I'm absolutely.
But I got a discount at that stage, yeah.
Yeah, but I had to actually, it was the only thing that kept me safe.
No, of course. Like people who are having pregnancies where they haven't had any difficulties get to a point of like being impatient, waiting for the next scan, and they have to for their own. But for you, different level, like completely understand it. You know, you'd want to be having them every day nearly.
Yeah,
you know, if you could.
I went for the scans every other week, and then for me, that whole 9 months was like, right, get to the 12 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Get to the 20 weeks. That's a huge thing. Okay, once you get over the 20 weeks, you've got to get to here. And I found the whole pregnancy, especially to about 25 weeks, so stressful.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, well, I can't imagine, but I would say that there was very little mind rest going on in that time.
I'm
you
so
know,
lucky.
million miles an hour.
It wasn't as stressful as previous jobs because
because your mind was on this. And when you got to, let's go to the 20-week scan. Okay, so when you got to that 20-week scan, you'd obviously been through the big milestone of the 12-week. And when you came out of that 20-week scan, was that a feeling that you haven't had before? Like, was there an extra sense of relief at that 20-week scan?
Yeah, I kind of started, although I wasn't shown I was pregnant at that stage, so I couldn't tell. There was no kicks. It was very, very hard to still believe that I was pregnant.
Of course,
the scans that I was having was kind of, nothing got easier, I don't think. And then I suppose December, January time, I kind of started going, oh, this is not bad. And we went into lockdown.
Yeah, that's the next bit. My good God. Like,
I booked, my sisters had booked, I didn't want a baby shower. I didn't want anything like that, but my sisters booked afternoon tea in Knockranny for me, Paddy's weekend, for my immediate family and about 4 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do the difference in the media between the Ireland and the UK within the first 2 weeks of COVID.
Good God.
And the week leading up that I was meant to go home, my sister's like, are you still coming? I was like, yeah, of course I am.
Yeah.
We might be going into lockdown. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Because we hadn't heard anything, but they were being told every day of.
Yeah. It was my sister actually that informed me about it too, because she texted into our WhatsApp group way before Boris came out on Sky News, and one step ahead, that girl, and said, I've just been told, top secret, but we're going into lockdown next week. I actually turned around, I didn't turn around, I text back and I said, what does lockdown mean? I was like, what does lockdown mean? Like, I literally hadn't put it into, but in Ireland, on another level. That first one.
I said, well, I'm going home anyways. I says, I want to come home. I want you to see my bump. This is
big, like after everything. Yeah.
So I went home. It was a lovely setup in Knockranny.
Yeah.
But that Saturday night was the last night out before lockdown.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So some people were afraid. Some people were like, right, we're going out because it's the last.
And we're going out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went to Knockranny, and then I kind of, because I was there submerged in the Irish media, you were kind of hearing notes, and I said, I need to get back or I'm going to be stuck here. This is what
I'll be getting my files sent over from England, and I'll be going up to Castlebar.
Yeah. So went home, never so relieved as to get back to Manchester.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah.
And then I remember I had a few days off, and I remember texting my regional manager going, what's the crack? I was like, I'm from Ireland, and this is what's going on. And, people who are over the age of this are shielding, and people who are pregnant are shielding. And I'm just wondering, it's so close.
What's happening?
Would it be the same? So he rang me and he said, look, Stacey, something's going to be announced tomorrow. Can you just hang fire and I'll be in touch with you?
Yeah.
Lo and behold, 3 or 4 days later, Boris announced lockdown for the UK, and I got a phone call. I had to stay at home, and I couldn't leave, and you weren't allowed to do anything. You're not going to work because I was in my last trimester.
Oh yes, yeah.
I said, I've got 8 weeks left.
Yeah.
And I said, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, you can't go out. You can't leave your house.
Yeah.
And I went just as I was starting. So then I was in panicky because I was like, what if I get it? What if my baby gets it? What am I,
what like risks have I got now? You know, I'm at this point of, you know, already incredibly stressed in the mind every day of the week, you know, and then this thrown on top,
the
and then
Jay couldn't come to appointments with me.
yeah,
My birthing plan, the only thing I had down was I want a water birth, couldn't have it. We have to review your birthing plan. I was like, what?
So loads of other stuff is sort of like, because of the pandemic and stuff, there was a lot of other stuff which was then suddenly taken away again out of your control, and kind of, you know, you're back at, not back in that situation, but what I mean is you're back kind of thinking, right, what's happening next? I don't know when that's happened. Will my appointments be affected? You know, and then as the weeks go on, and actually lockdown really did hit in, and we were all, you know, kept indoors, and things changed and schools closed, everything just changed. And then, you know, if we look and fast forward to as you're coming close to, you know, to your pregnancy, you know, complete and coming to the end of the pregnancy and stuff, I imagine that at that point, when everyone else is getting excited about people coming over and what's going to be happening and everything else, and all around the birthing plan and everything and the new clothes, you were just yourself and Jay talking about it and being. There was no.
Well, it was strange because all my antenatal classes were cancelled.
Yeah.
There was nothing online set up in time for me to attend.
Yeah.
Like all the different things that I was meant to go were all cancelled. They're just like,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. So I was trying to do research myself about like, how do you push and how do you do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it came. We had Seamus.
Yeah. Tell us about kind of, you know, obviously after everything, you know, you're in your pregnancy and everything, and you knew things were going to be okay then, you know, well, you know, that's the way it was going.
Yeah.
But the day that Seamus actually arrived, I'll always remember the text message. I actually was doing cartwheels around the house like a lunatic, because even though I knew everything was okay, it was here, and I was lying out in the back garden the day that Seamus was born. I'll always remember, because I was reading a book and I put my face down on the book. I must have been having a snooze. And I remember I got a message and I just went, and you know, when you're just like genuinely so happy and excited for someone else. And I was just buzzing to just see that message coming through. I was just, and I think he has the most perfect name for the most perfect little boy. And he's changed your world in many ways.
On the 4th, he was born on the 6th of May, and on the 4th, I had reduced movements.
Yeah.
So I went to the hospital and they put me on the monitor to be monitored, and they said, yeah, you have reduced movements. We're going to bring you in tomorrow to be induced. And I went, not tomorrow, please. And they're like, why? I said, it's my birthday tomorrow. I don't want to be in the hospital on my birthday.
Yeah.
They're like, sorry. So I was like, okay, we get on with it. So I went in, was induced, nothing happened. They sent Jay home because he couldn't be in there the whole time. And they said, induced a second time, and then the contractions started, and they were coming pretty fast. And she said, do you want to go and have I know you're not allowed to have a water birth, but do you want to go and have a bath? It might help you pains, whatever. I said, yeah, grand.
Yeah.
So, and about 3 hours later, she's like, are you okay there? I was like, living my best life, lying in the bath going, yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm having a great time there.
And she examined me. She goes, oh, we need to get you to the labour ward. Can you get your husband here ASAP? I said, yeah, no problem. Got him up. And the labour was really, really fast. And when I started to push, then I started to hemorrhage.
Right.
And about 10 doctors came in. My husband
Oh,
was as white as
Jesus.
ghost.
Oh,
I was
God.
like, what the hell is wrong? And nobody was saying it. And I said, what the hell is wrong? So they put a trace on his heart, and his heartbeat started to fall. So they're like, okay, we're going to have to do an emergency C-section. They said, okay. I said, yeah, just get him out. I didn't get here 41 weeks. I'm not. But anyways, and he was born then a half an hour later. So we were in our own bubble for maybe 8 weeks, 9 weeks.
And you got to kind of, just you guys. And like, I think we were talking about at the beginning of this, but like the difference between, you know, the contrast between when somebody has a baby, it's not a pandemic and people are imploding on, people are just everywhere. And there's just pink bags, blue bags, there's all sorts of things everywhere. And people coming and you're thinking, just please, just go, like you've been here for far too long and I want some space. Whereas you had the complete opposite. And at times probably relished that, but I'm sure there must have been times where you would have loved for your mum and dad to be there for those special first few days and weeks.
It would have been lovely, and it'd be lovely for Jay's mum and Jay's sister
to
come in rather than standing at the door. And it was hard.
That was tough, yeah.
I loved it at the same time.
Yeah, because you just, yeah.
You know, I did love it, but I definitely think it's made I think if things were different, he may not be as clingy now, or he may not be as I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
He definitely is very clingy, and he's definitely socially he's great, which
is brilliant. That's what you want. Yeah, of course.
Because he hadn't had any human interaction by me and Jay for so long, but
I'd say that people have made up for it since where possible, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
And you know, obviously, you know, your big move back to Ireland and stuff like that. You know, he's immersed in family and friends at the moment, and around people that are. Do you have moments where, which I'm sure every parent has, but particularly when you've been through what you've been through, where you just stare at him even now, 3.5 years later, and think, he's here.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I never wanted just one child. I always would have loved to have a big family. I come from a big family. Love my nieces and nephews to bits, you know. I'm the crazy Auntie Stacey, as I'm called. Kids. We tried after Seamus. I had 2 miscarriages with Seamus. And after the second miscarriage after Seamus, I said, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I said, I thought it'd be easier
after having Seamus.
It was actually harder because I know what I'd lost, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So hard. Seamus was born in the November. I had another miscarriage, and it was tough. We decided in January, if I wasn't pregnant, we're done. And I was happy with that.
Yeah.
But I got pregnant again in the following May time. Around time my 40th birthday.
Yeah.
And I miscarried at 6.5 weeks again. A normal, natural miscarriage. And I said to Jay, I don't know how you feel, but I cannot do this anymore. It doesn't get any easier. If anything, it's worse. And
then I suppose, like, you know, when you have your child, when you have Seamus, you know, I suppose kind of everything that you do, you know, when you used to do stuff for yourself and for Jay and stuff, it's like almost like it's doubled then when you've got Seamus, and you know, he needs your attention and he needs all those kind of things. And then when you decide, you know, I think enough is enough, I can't do this anymore, you know, I imagine that at that point, you know, your feelings are, you know, your own personal things, but you can't feel like there's anything else you can do. You know, you're at that point, you've done so much, you've been through so much. It's time then to just, you know, I'm not saying accept it, but I'm saying you've got an amazing young man who's in your life now. And it's a case of, I suppose, just saying to yourself, right, it's me time now, it's our time, and you know, moving forward with things. And that's why I was going to ask you, you know, what kind of, it's tough, isn't it, for anyone, but what kind of advice, or if you were to give anyone any kind of tips on when things are going against you and this has happened to you twice, maybe somebody who's had this happen to them twice, say, for example, I know plenty of people who it's happened to twice, 3 times, maybe once, whatever. What would you say to them? You know, I'm not going to say it's going to be one of those things where you just automatically say, keep trying, keep being positive, you know, the usual stuff, positive, that everyone says. What could you say if someone has been through it?
Circumstances are different. I know from personally, I wasn't in the beginning, I suppose, before I had Seamus, I wasn't going to just give up so fast. Because I wanted to give it as much as I could. I suppose when I had Seamus and I had 2 miscarriages then after him, I couldn't do it anymore. I was mentally and physically drained from it because I now had a child that I had to look after as well. And I just found this is what was meant to be for me. So anyone like I've got friends who have had miscarriages since I've had mine. And you know, all I say is, look, at you and your partner knows, you know, when to stop, when to keep going, and just communicate with each other.
It has to be down to you. And being there for each other. And is there, like, obviously, you know, feel free not to answer this, but would you say that people should reach out and talk to people in a professional capacity, or just reach out to those close to them, friends and family, a mix of both? They say everyone's different, but do you think sometimes if you've been through such trauma that you might need to talk to people outside of family and friends.
I think it's really good to talk. I found even since people who have turned to me because they know what I've been through, they feel that they can't speak to me. And I don't even have to say anything. They just want someone to tell.
To tell, who understands. Yeah, who understands. And actually I was at this I was at a conference recently, a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a work-related thing, but there was a stand there and it was it said Tommy's on it, and it just caught my eye, and because it was pink and a heart and Tommy's. And I went over and started chatting to two of the ladies that were there at this particular stall. And I said to them, what is this? You know, I'm intrigued. I just, the whole thing just caught my eye. And I could tell it was something to do with children. So, you know, it was of interest to me. And they started telling me, and I was like, gosh, that is really amazing. Now, I know there's charities and organizations in Ireland, like SANS, I think there is, and there's a couple of others. This Tommy's organization, which again, it's new to me, so I don't know a hell of a lot of it about it. But you know, when you're in work, and you know, you pointed out a couple of things, you know, not specifically, but anyone that's in work and in work environment and they're going through things, even if it's a straightforward pregnancy, sometimes your head isn't in the right place, or you're worried, you're anxious. If you're having, you know, if you're miscarrying and it's something that's happened a number of times, sometimes in work, there's nothing, you're there for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, whatever. And you need to be able to turn to people and, you know, reach out. And this particular organization, Tommy's, is almost like an added kind of perk or benefit within your package in various different places. And what they offer is all of this kind of like ways to teach managers how to speak to their staff, ways to teach CEOs and MDs how to deal with, you know, that sensitive topic. Because, you know, I think we touched on it, I don't know if it was today or another day, Stacey, when we were chatting before this, but we touched on what should people say? You know, let's forget about work. That was one thing, but people are like, oh God, will I just totally avoid the subject, or will I go and say, Stacey, look, I know you've been through a lot lately, I'm really sorry, anything I can do? Or is it people just go, oh, you know, you'll be grand. What people don't know what to say. And I think, you know, I know people who've been through similar things and things with kids and sicknesses, and people can be, it's not that people go out and intend to be rude, ignorant, arrogant, any of those things, but people are just people, and they sometimes don't know what to say. And, you know, awkward, exactly. And you can't coach the general public, but at least if we're bringing things like this into a workplace where there is training in place on how to deal with things, how to speak to people, what room you need to give people, you know, that's fair enough. But day to day, you know, what would you say to people who know you?
Someone no more than yourself, and I'd say there was a handful of you that reached out to me on all occasions and asked me, did I want to speak? Do you want to talk about it? And I did, because it's no shame to me.
God, no.
So I did, and I found it helped me. But again, I think that might not be for everyone.
No, exactly. There'll be some people who, you know, it would help them more if people acted like as if nothing had happened, you know, and that's, you know, and that's why I think you've said it a few times, and I really, really think it's such a valuable piece of advice to people outside of this conversation, even, that, you know, everyone is different and everyone deals with things in such a different way. Some people will tell you what time they went to the toilet at and what came out. Other people are, you know, they're so closed that it's tough for them to tell you anything outside of, you know, what the weather's like and the general kind of chat. So I fully respect and understand, you know, what you were saying, that it is person to person. But if there are people who've tuned into this, you know, and feel like, I don't know who to talk to.
I think it's important to talk. It's definitely helped me. It definitely helped me keep going. It definitely helped me mourn, I suppose, because I mourned. I said, you know, I could tell you my due dates for each of my pregnancies. Now. And there isn't a day or a month or a year that goes past to think, oh, he or she should be in school. He or she should be doing this. God, should be. And that's natural.
Of course it is. Yeah.
That goes by when I see, you know, different nieces or nephews that been around the same age, thinking, oh, imagine if my little one,
they'd be like close and they'd be like this. And you know what, like some people might, you know, kind of do some, I have heard people say before, when they do that, then they feel guilty on the child they have. And then it's like, well, no, because that child is 3 or 4 or whatever they are. But this is about the child who would have been 6, who is 6, but it isn't here with us. And they all hold special places, you know, in your heart and stuff. And, you know, a couple of times when I asked, you know, how the first one felt compared to the third, and the whole way through, you know, you've explained that they're all, you know, all those things, they matter, they're all the same, you know, these are could have been, you know, your part of you. And, you know, I often see things on social media, and when I talk to people who've lost babies, and they have special things that remind them, or like nice pictures or certain things they can look at, and that reminds them of that. But for you, is it just more like you've got those dates and that's what you look at? And when it's the 13th of July, say, for example, then you think, okay, that would have been X day or whatever? Or how do you reflect on everybody?
Definitely stick in my head.
Yeah.
So like the 19th of April should have been. So every week on the 19th of April, you know, I should have had a birthday.
Yeah.
Not that there was any difference between the first and the last, but the first one sticks out and the last one sticks out.
Yeah.
My last miscarriage, I knew that was it.
Yeah.
That I would never be pregnant again.
Yeah.
Because the decision I made. So I find that tough. That last pregnancy, the baby should have been born, we'll say, the 21st of January.
Yeah.
My brother had twins.
Yes.
Around that date. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look at them, not all the time, but I look at them and go, oh, we should have a little one the same.
Same age.
You know, just different things like that.
And it's and that will, you know, that will resonate as well with people who've had kids and lost kids, you know, through other things. And, you know, there'll obviously be times where they'll see a child the exact same age, and they'll almost, you know, I've seen it, heard about these kind of things where people will, you know, almost imagine that that's their child for a second, you know, or for half a second, where they, you know, you almost forget, or you predict what your child would have looked like or what they would have been interested in. And it's a tough old world. It's a tough life. It's, you know, these kind of things. Like, I think that one of the things that's massive is the taken for granted, you know, like when things are straightforward in pregnancy or in life or whatever, you know, it is taken for granted. And it's a case of not comparing your luck to other people's, you know, misfortune, but more or less just focusing on what you have and being really grateful for that.
I look at them every day and like,
I'm
cross with them. I can't be cross too long. I have to turn around because I'm so lucky, actually, and I know how lucky I am, and I know how lucky, God, that there's people out there that go on and have loads and loads more miscarriages than me.
I know.
Have someone hold, and I find myself very, very fortunate. Very fortunate.
It's amazing
every day, and I thank God every day for him, because how would I be, or how would me and Jay be right now? If we didn't have MS? I don't know, because it definitely put a strain.
Of course. Of course.
I might be wrong, but like, it's
but it is. It's the unknown, but it's also the, you know, children are often, you know, obviously couples are couples, and then children come along, and you're still your couple, but you're also a family, and you're two things, and then it all blends in together. Of course it does. But, you know, children are such a big part of people's lives, and, you know, there are many people out there who just cannot have children and are desperate to have children. And, you know, one of the things I was going to ask you is, at any point when you were going through the multiple miscarriages, did you guys at any point talk about other options, IVF, adoption?
So IVF was there, which I don't want to talk about, if you don't mind.
Of course. No, not at all. It's more just to see if more so down the route of, you know, would people, you know, I suppose it's one of those where people, if they're going, not everybody would have the resilience that you would have. Okay. A lot of people do, and some people just don't. And it's not that they would give up. It's just that they wouldn't maybe have the belief to keep going. So they look at those options.
Myself and I couldn't agree on other options.
Of course.
Everything. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And he was like, hold on. And I was going to mile a minute for him. Like, I was like, maybe me going, right, if this doesn't work by this date, this is what
here's the diary of events.
Step back and chill.
Luckily,
you know, for us, I got pregnant.
Yes, of course.
Naturally. And, you know.
Yeah. And that's just it. And that's what, you know, like it's just one of those where I think that people, everyone, every family, every couple, every woman, every man, everyone's so different and everyone has their own preferences and what they want to do and routes they want to go down. And you know what? Like, hands up, there's plenty of people out there who are perfectly happy and don't want to step into parenthood. And you know what? Absolutely, everyone to each to their own, you know, and everyone enjoys life the way they want to enjoy it. But for you, you know, I think the message that trying to get across today, certainly from my point of view on this podcast, you know, this podcast is all about parental mayhem and the highs and the lows and the craziness of it all and trying to get it all together and emotions and everything else. But, you know, it's important to talk about getting to be a parent as well, because, you know, it doesn't just happen naturally to everybody as quickly as people plan. You know, you quite rightly pointed out at the very beginning of the podcast, you know, you get married, your prediction was, I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to have kids, because that's the natural process that was in line for you, and that's the way I would have thought, you know, that things would go as well. And when your map doesn't quite, the roads don't quite go the way you want them to go, you know, it's tough to bring it, navigate it and bring it all back together. But I think definitely, you know, talking and communicating with your partner, obviously an obvious one, but beyond that, being able to reach out to people and not sitting there in silence and suffering, because that can't be good either. You know, it and people who don't want to talk about it, you know, what can they do? If people are really private, obviously they can talk to people really close to them, but you know, there are plenty of organizations out there, aren't there? If people don't want to
reach out to Tommy's, if you're in the UK,
yeah,
so someone that we know mutually knew of my miscarriages and recommended Tommy's, and they were fantastic. They were absolutely fantastic. They were a great support. I didn't feel I needed them an awful lot because I was open as it was and I wasn't a closed book. But for anyone who can't or who won't, for whatever reason, don't want to talk, go to Tommy's, because they're professional, they're trained, they're an ear, or DM me.
Exactly. And that's it. I think it is about kind of like reaching out to people if you are happy to, and like, you know, as you've quite rightly said, and without a doubt can vouch for this, that people, you know, people's story would rest with you. It's not like as if you're getting that story and then it goes anywhere else. You are living proof of the fact that you can go through these things, and it's not about the fact that you had Seamus that brought you out the other side. It's the fact that you actually got through all of this, and you know that you're a positive person, and you know it's not just that, but you know you've driven on and you've just become, you know, a stronger person, obviously for that. But you know it's been tough. Like let's not beat around the bush. You have had a very, very tough time.
Like everyone says that, but like until something is thrown up to you, Ashley, everyone's like, how do you deal with that? You have to.
Yes, you have to.
You just have to, and you have to decide, do I want to go this way or do I want to go that way? And when I had Seamus and I subsequently had 2 more miscarriages, I was like, what do I do? I've got a child to look after now, so I need to just get on with it. Like, you know,
like you don't, it's like, you know, as you said, you know, when people say to you, it's like if somebody has something really tragic happens in their life, like that's happened to you. You know, I know a number of people who've been through stuff that you couldn't even think about what they might be thinking or feeling, but they don't have a choice. You know, you have to pick yourself up, and you know, I remember in Ireland years ago, like people would say, not just in Ireland, I'm sure it happened in every country, let's not just pick on Ireland, but you know, if a man had a problem or a down day, kick in the arse, get out to work and dig a hole and you'll be okay. You know, obviously we live in a different world now. If people aren't feeling right, you can talk to people, you can admit that you're not feeling okay, and you can get help from not just professionals but people around you. So Stacey, I cannot thank you enough for being so open and honest, because often you'll have these conversations with people and it's very much just the little bit of detail. This happened to me then, and then, you know, we'll push on. You were incredibly open, and you will help a lot of people, because there'll be a lot of people out there who won't know kind of who to turn to, what to do. Do I talk? Do I not? And I think medically, you know, when you talk to me there about the gynecologist and the midwife and the private consultant and all these kind of people that you've mentioned, you know, it sounds to me like you took charge. And I think, would you say that's quite important, you know, that you don't sit back and just say, yeah, that's fine to the medics, that you actually stand up and say, no, hang on a second, I want more information. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I definitely believe, like, if you think it's your 7 week scan or your 7 weeks, you got to believe it.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
a woman knows her body.
Yeah, of course.
Like, because we were trying for so long, I knew I was right, and I was right, and each time I was right. So yeah, don't let people tell you.
Don't let people like rule the roost.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're in charge of your own body, your own kind of like your own plans, and you can come up and say to people, no, this is actually what it is, because that's so important, not to give control to. I know obviously these medical professionals are unbelievable, and you know, if anything, you know, I've been in maternity hospitals myself a couple of times, and people have been incredible, so supportive, amazing. But I think if you just sit back and take their word for everything, you know, you can fall into a bit of a, you know, I'm here just to do whatever you want me to do, and say, you know, you've got to stand up for your own body and your own self and everything.
You know, when we finally got sent to the recurring miscarriage clinic, they started to listen.
Yeah.
They seen my despair. They seen how much I wanted it, and they wanted to help me. And she was so positive, the lady in there. I can't remember her name, and I should do really. But she was amazing, and she was like, "You can do this. You can do this."
And that must have been such music to your ears, because if you think about, and you know, we'll finish on this really, but you know, if something is going against you so much, okay, you know, you'd imagine that a lot of health professionals would take the safe boot by saying, right, you've been through this, the chances are low, you know, covering themselves. But to hear somebody, possibly I'm saying it because of the same gender, coming out and saying, you can do this, you know, you've got this, you can do it, must have really lifted you massively.
Yeah, it did. And I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And when she told me my scan was on the Friday the 13th, I was like, I can't do it. No, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You're not changing your scan date. So that's
it.
That's
it. You're doing it.
Amazing. Yeah.
And my light has decided to give up, as you can see. So the ring light has gone off. But there we will wrap it up today. Obviously, as I said, it's been fantastic chatting. It makes me think that maybe we need to do less texting and more talking, I think.
You gotta come over and stay. You need to come and visit.
Exactly. Yes, I do. But I think that's where we'll finish up today. But I'm really grateful again, and I think you're going to have helped a hell of a lot of people. And thank you. And we will do some follow-up podcasts over the next couple of years. We'll be following the life of Stacey Dwyer.
Good to talk to you.
You too. Take care, Stacey. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.